Hello everybody and welcome to this latest HxDR webinar, where today we'll be talking all about HxDR Reality Cloud Studio within the Leica Geosystems Reality Capture software workflow. So we're aiming for half an hour. It might go slightly longer, but we're going to take you through the whole process of how we use Reality Cloud Studio and how it interfaces with the existing software and solutions that you already may have invested in. So without further ado, we'll jump into an introduction. So obviously you'd like to know who this person is that's talking to you today and taking you through the journey. My name is Paul Burrows. I work for the HxDR Cloud Solutions team, working as the Technical Sales Manager in EMEA region. I've been with the company a very, very long time, and I've been doing reality capture a very, very long time. Starting with object scanning through to terrestrial laser scanning through to everything in between, a bit of computer animation, 3D modeling. But my role primarily now focuses on helping customers adopt our cloud solutions, and of course advising them on how bringing it all together with their existing 3D technology and their solutions. So welcome to the webinar session, and thank you very much for attending. So if you want to reach out to me, you can scan that QR code, or you can search for me on LinkedIn and connect with me if you would wish. So today we're going to talk about that connected ecosystem. We're going to talk about the collaboration tools within HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. We're also going to cover scan versus BIM and scan to BIM, and how we can leverage the tools within HxDR Reality Cloud Studio to deliver that. And then we're going to look at how we can use that data that we've added to the platform across multiple use cases, and trying to remove those data silos that you might come across in your day-to-day work. We're going to touch on data security. It's a cloud solution, so we have to, because we want everyone to be aware of the certification we have and why it's a very safe and powerful platform to use. And we'll also cover usage, our usage model, which is quite different to some other models out there, because it's based on your consumption effectively. And we'll go through that in detail so you fully understand that. And if there's any questions, just use your widget, your GoToWebinar widget, and you can ask questions all throughout. We'll get back to you within 24 to 48 hours, but feel free to ask as many questions as you want. But that's the rundown of the presentation as it stands today. Now, what I want to do initially is just give you an insight into the reality capture software portfolio mentality. So we have this tagline: everything, everywhere, for everyone. And of course, we're putting HxDR in kind of the center of this story today, and I'll explain why. But really, we break this down into field, desktop, and cloud. And as existing users, you may already touch all these different bits of software. But let's say you're out in the field and you're collecting data with Field 360, attached to an RTC 360 or a BLK 360. Then on the desktop you might use Cyclone Register 360 Plus or Cyclone 3DR or CloudWorks plugins, and in the cloud, of course, primarily today, Reality Cloud Studio. But the reason why we have this everything everywhere for everyone tagline is because if we take something like registration, you can do that in all of these different places. And again, we'll see more tools around digital construction, deviation reporting, BIM progress monitoring, again in all of these different locations. But ultimately, it's about delivering data in a connected ecosystem, and not just for hexagon data or Leica Geosystems data. Our platforms accept data from other third-party hardware as well. So that's something to consider. We'll touch on as we move through the deck. So firstly, let's talk about getting your data from the field to the cloud, and we're going to focus on the RTC 360 in this case. Could be other terrestrial laser scanners from our range, and of course we'll talk about how you get data in from other sensors as well. But here you can see the RTC 360. So you've got Simona here. She's with Field 360, her RTC. She's collecting scan data, walking around the scene, and basically building up the registration in real time through the tablet. Now, we've added some really cool functionality to Field 360 as well, so you can now georeference directly in the field. But by working in this way, what it allows you to do is create a registered bundle on Field 360, and if you want to, you can send that data straight from the tablet to Reality Cloud Studio. We also offer some auto registration capability, but in this workflow, a lot of that registration process has already been done. Now, as a next step, if we look at Field 360, here's just a capture of Field 360, and you may not be familiar with it, but you can see here we've got all of our scans, we've worked our way around. Maybe we want to add additional links between setups, which is something we added a couple of years ago now, being able to add even more links. And then you can see here, once we've generated that link and we've created our new bundle, we can very, very easily simply upload directly to Reality Cloud Studio. So you see, we've created the bundle, we select the bundle, and then from our menu system, we're then just able to choose that bundle. We click the ellipsis, click Upload to Reality Cloud Studio. We can navigate to our location. So this is connected directly to the cloud. So it's assuming you've got 5G or Wi-Fi on your device. And now it's uploading that data. It's exporting and uploading that data straight to Reality Cloud Studio from the device. Now this is just one way. There's other ways to get data up, and we'll look at that process in the next few slides. So again, looking at the RTC 360 process you've just seen with Field 360, Reg 360, we break this down into what we call capture, manage, and deliver, that you can see at the bottom of the screen here. So we capture our data, in this case with the RTC. Now, as I said, one route is to go from Field 360 straight to the cloud. Another route is to go through Register 360, generate an LGSX file or an E57 or an LAS, and upload that directly to Reality Cloud Studio. Now we can do that in a couple of ways. We can do that via dragging and dropping into the browser, or we can use an app, which is the preferred way, which is called HxDR Data Flow. It's a small, free of charge desktop app that just allows you to sync your data up into Reality Cloud Studio into the cloud. Now, you can also not just add reality capture content, you can also add 3D models. So we currently support IFC, Revit, Navisworks, and also 3D was just added. And you can also add 3D meshes, so GLB files, OBJ files, with more to come. So all of this data can be pulled together in Reality Cloud Studio. We can also create things called scenes, where we bring together reality capture and 3D model or mesh content to do, the beginnings of the construction verification process. But once it's in Reality Cloud Studio as a centralized platform, we can then stream that into the browser. This could be on an iPhone, an iPad, a PC with relatively limited specification, as long as you've got an internet connection. Then we can also stream to CloudWorks, and currently we can stream to AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, BricsCAD, and we just added compatibility with Bentley as well. And we can also stream that data into Cyclone 3DR. So Reality Cloud Studio really becomes then a centralized hub for distributing that data to all these different places. So of course you've got the browser-based experience, which is what a lot of people are interested in, but you've then got productive elements like CloudWorks and Cyclone 3DR as well. Now if we look at the next slide, this just assumes we're talking about third-party data sources. So maybe you've scanned with another solution and you want to get that in. That's fine, because we are data agnostic, it doesn't matter. So if you've got an LAS file or an E57 file from your other scanners, you can bring those into Reality Cloud Studio and perform exactly the same functions, merging with 3D models and streaming to all these other locations. So I just want to reiterate that HxDR Reality Cloud Studio is an open platform, and you can bring in data from those other places. Okay. So let's talk about the benefits of the cloud for your reality capture business. Now, collaboration is key to this workflow. We want to share the data with as many people as possible. But ultimately, one of the current challenges, and a big one, is limited data access at high cost. So we're going to break that down into a few steps now. Firstly, if you need high-end software to locally store and open these files, there's an upfront capital investment, which could be thousands of pounds, euros, dollars, whatever that might look like. There's also sometimes delays. There's also possible security risks. I heard of a situation where a hard drive was being shipped between the US and Mexico, held up in customs for 2 weeks, and there was a delay. For some reason, they weren't able to ship that data via a cloud solution, but this would completely mitigate that problem. IT costs are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. More complex, lots of manpower. You've also got to manage the hardware updates, continuous drive expansion, so that's something to consider. And also time is lost when handling big files. Even just opening or downloading, even creating them can take time. So that's something to consider in the collaboration stage. And then of course you've got your training costs. So, training, getting people up and running with doing this can take a long time. A Reality Cloud Studio can really help you limit those training costs and get people working very quickly. So HxDR Reality Cloud Studio allows you to share all this data with all your stakeholders. So in this image here, project managers, subcontractors. What it really allows you to do is essentially store all of that data in one location. We've got browser-based accessibility for all stakeholders. So if they haven't got access to CAD platforms, they can still access it just through a simple browser interface. Limited training, and also unlimited free users. We don't limit the number of users, and streaming is also completely free once the data is in the platform too. We'll talk about that later. It's incredibly easy to access the platform. You can choose how you want to view it. Do you want to view the panoramic images? Do you want to view a mesh? Do you want to view a point cloud? Do you want to combine it all? It's entirely up to you and the user as to what they want to see when they log into the platform. It also reduces requests for information and rework because everyone sees the data as is very, very quickly. And this is a big one, is virtual visits. We see loads of people telling us how they're saving money by using virtual visits with Reality Cloud Studio. So that's something that will help you reduce time and costs associated with travel, and of course also it's safer. We're removing some of the hazards of accessing some of these sites, aside from obviously the capture stage. So that's the benefits of connecting everyone within that, within your business and external to business with the reality capture data. So collaboration tools. Let's talk a little bit about the collaboration tools in HxDR. So first up, we have the ability to create geotags directly within the platform. So consider these as points of interest where you can attach notes and images and hyperlinks directly to them. You can even link out to other databases or programs if needs be. There's lots of easy to use measurement tools in the solution as well. So you can measure directly on the point cloud, in the panorama, on the 3D meshes, distance, areas, planars, all the standard tools that you might expect. We also have the ability to generate limit boxes, so you can break down your project into much smaller areas that are easy to navigate, and you can also download the point clouds for limit boxes as well, so that's something to consider. And then as a final point, everything is shareable via hyperlinks. So all of these things that we create are shareable as hyperlinks. You can share the whole project, or if you've created a project team, you could send someone a specific link to a specific measurement and it would jump straight to it when they open that. You send it via WhatsApp, they open it up, it jumps to the browser and they can go and view that information. So that's something to consider from a collaboration perspective. Now, I said at the beginning that we'd be talking today about scan versus BIM and scan to BIM. So this is that first stage, and you can see from the image on the right hand side, we're going to talk a little bit about deviations. So how do we detect deviations early and protect our timelines and budgets with HxDR Reality Cloud Studio? So when we talk about scan versus BIM, or some people say scan to verify, depending on which market you're handling with, they basically, you've got operational bottlenecks and potential ineffective reporting as a result. So let's look at the challenges again. One, expensive on-premise hardware and specialized teams. You can get high costs because you have to invest in both hardware and skill sets in order to carry out this work. Then sometimes it can be difficult to share the results. So sometimes you're relying on PDF reports, or you're doing, some people I was talking to the other day, they were just sharing screenshots where they'd marked up with like in Microsoft Paint almost some of the areas and sharing those backwards and forwards via email. It can be quite difficult to share those results. So that's something to consider, and that basically amounts to reduced clarity for all stakeholders involved. Then we have inefficient reporting. So ultimately, if the reporting does not tell the stakeholders what they want, that's going to slow the whole process down, and then there's lots of backwards and forwards between different parties. And of course, by having non-standard procedures, you have limited quality management capabilities. So it really is difficult then to make sure that everyone is singing from the same song sheet. So here again, this is all about project timelines and budgets being protected, and they could be jeopardized if you don't have those standard procedures in place. So really we want to catch mistakes before they cost everyone within that life cycle. So we want to increase accountability by validating installations as they happen. So upload the data, upload the 3D models, and we can start using our tools in the platform to allow us to see that very, very quickly. We can obviously perform then quality assurance and quality control as built against the real world data, and we can do that as quickly as we can get the data up into the platform to start doing that analysis. This of course prevents rework and delays, so you've got lots and lots of different disciplines all accessing the data, the same data, being able to look at the same data in the same location, so you've got complete control over that process flow. And of course then that ultimately removes friction with the communication. So you're sharing your dynamic 3D results, you're adding geotags, you're using URLs, shared links to actually share this between teams much more quickly, and everyone is working from the same data set. And of course we're then able to provide proof of quality and compliance to owners, all backed by high precision data, reality capture data and 3D model content. So really that's what the whole scan versus BIM story is all about. So now let's talk a little bit about the scan to BIM process, so creating BIM content from those real world conditions. Now scan to BIM, the current challenges, obviously potentially slow and inaccurate workflow. So sometimes again time is lost because large files. This is all about streaming data, making it nice and easy to get data into the CAD solutions and get them working very, very quickly. Obviously there's delays and security risks when you're shipping hard drives around or digitally transferring files. By keeping it all in Reality Cloud Studio, you can control every single user who has access, you can put time limits on links, you can really lock this down to only give it to people who really need to see it, and you can revoke access at any point in time as well. Now there's limited native CAD tools for working with point clouds, which is why we have our CloudWorks suite of plugins, and we'll look at that in a second, to allow you to really get the best from the point cloud. And then you've got inaccurate deliverables from manual workflows. Sometimes the point cloud is just a visual reference, and ultimately what we want to do is make sure that we're using the intelligent tools within CloudWorks in order to deliver a really nice end result. So we talk about again HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. We've got the benefits of that being pushed, that data being pushed out to CAD, Revit, Navisworks, Bentley and BricsCAD, all of that data being pushed from our sensors or third-party sensors into the platform. And this allows us to shorten the project timelines and eliminate rework because we're working with current, accurate data. We can stream that point cloud with no transfers, no downloads. It enables distributed teams to collaborate effectively across offices, and soon, very soon, this is going to be huge news for lots of people, we're going to have a free CloudWorks viewer, initially for Revit, that eliminates data conversion and allows lots of people to open the data, so stream, open, do some limited clips and cuts on the data, and also change the colorization. So getting rid of all the the fitting tools and analytical tools, but allowing you to distribute this free viewer to as many people as possible to start streaming your data from HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. Now, we had a customer who came to us and the quote was really nice. So with HxDR, we saw a 10% reduction in modeling hours, resulting in fewer site visits and greater overall efficiency. So, that really stacks up when you're looking at these major mega projects. Even if you're a one-man band all the way through to tier 1 contractors, it's all about saving time and money. So if we look at these two videos, the first video is streaming data from Reality Cloud Studio to CloudWorks. So you can see here we're just opening that asset and we're streaming that asset. And in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the classification. Now, we will soon offer in-app classification tools within Reality Cloud Studio, but this will also work for LGSX files that you might have uploaded that have already been classified in Register 360, for example. But what we're able to do is turn on and off the layers within the classification manager, so we can just see the data that we are interested in. In this case, we're looking at an indoor construction data set which we've classified using that model, and now we're using the steel section tool within the CloudWorks menu to actually fit our objects directly to that point cloud data. And all we've done is just picked a couple of clicks on the steel section just there, and again you can see it goes into cross section, and we're able to pick the object from the catalog in order to effectively fit that object. Now the next method that I want to show you, this is streaming from Reality Cloud Studio to CloudWorks 2 of 2. Again, we're going to use the classification, but this time we're going to use a couple of different tools. One is our quick slice tool, which allows us to very, very quickly orientate ourselves to the square surface of the project, or get it all squared up, ready to start working. And then we're going to use our floor plan creation tool to allow us to very quickly generate some walls for this asset as well. So you can see here now we've just kind of turned on and off the classification layers to give us the data that we're interested in. And then we're going to use quick slice wall, just pick a couple of points on there, and that will then automatically square us up and align us to the data. So you can almost imagine, if you're in AutoCAD, you'd start drawing your floor plan straight away, but we want to generate a 3D model. So we now go to our floor plan tool within CloudWorks for Revit, and we're just picking on these surfaces, so literally just picking on the lines and roughly generating our line work for the external shell of this structure. But what this allows us to then do, once we've finished that, we can actually convert that automatically to a 3D surface with the relevant parametric information available. So what we'll do now is, once we've just created that simple basic outline, the one final step is we just click on this button here. We can then choose where the top constraints and the bottom constraints of the wall. We can choose the wall type and press OK. That will generate it. When we close it, you can now see, if we rotate in 3D, it's created that wall surface directly within the platform. So it really is incredibly powerful, speeding up that scan to bin process directly within Revit. Now, the next challenge I want to very quickly talk about is scalability. So scalability, obviously, how do we grow the platform? Now, firstly, obviously, you can scale this however big you want, from 1 terabyte all the way up to even hundreds of terabytes if you wanted to. Time ultimately can be lost when high-end computers are used for processing. So whether that's in meshing steps or classifying, even exporting, that can cause a lot of time lost and can cause bottlenecks in your day-to-day processing. You've also got personnel-based bottlenecks. So sometimes if someone with a specific skill has to be trained up, and maybe they're off that week, or they're on holiday, or they leave, you have issues there where you have to fill that capability within your workflows. Inefficiency obviously arrives downstream. So if you cut corners, if you don't run that AI-based classification, then you can't take advantage of the tools within CloudWorks when you're streaming it from Reality Cloud Studio. So that could result in a loss in in efficiency. And then, of course, what you don't want to do is burden your high-skill VDC teams with all of these processing tasks, which are ultimately, push a button and off you go. So that is a challenge as well, which we eliminate with HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. So we want to remove processing bottlenecks. That's really the key point with the platform. So we want to focus on design, not on data prep. Let the platform handle the data prep, and your VDC and modeler teams can go off and get to work accurately and quickly. We want to deliver complete deliverables, and we don't want to have huge amounts of training on complex software. So, we've got single button click meshing, we have single button click classification. All of this stuff is built into the platform to speed up the point, your A to Z or A to Z process to get to the end result. We want to meet project deadlines. We don't want to get bottlenecked by CPU and GPU holdouts. This is why we leverage the cloud. It's parallelized. It's large scale GPUs across the cloud. And then, of course, we want to be able to scale with no IT red tape. It's very, very easy to add more data and more quota to the platform. And again, this customer from the US said we have reduced working time on point clouds and mesh generation by at least 50%. That is huge. That's a huge amount of time to free up. So when we're talking about those auto tools, those automatic tools, one of them is auto mesh. Now, auto mesh allows us to take that point cloud that we've imported and create a mesh incredibly quickly. It's a single button. There's no expert knowledge needed. It's fully textured, either from the panoramic images or from the point cloud color, depending on the setting that you use. And we also have automatic cleaning with object removal as well. We'll show you an example of that in a second. And the file can then be exported as an OBJ, and soon we'll have OpenUSD, which stands for Universal Scene Description as well. So this is an example of the auto cleaning. So here's a point cloud. The animation was generated using our Tours functionality within HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. And in a second, you'll see this revert to the mesh. And it really is just to clarify that the mesh has been created fully automatically. So you just go in and say, create mesh, choose the sensor, in this case RTC 360, and then it's generated everything that you can see there fully automatically within the platform. So that is your auto mesh and your auto mesh cleaning as part of the platform. And then obviously AI classification. So you've seen a hint of where we're going with this, with the streaming from Reality Cloud Studio into CloudWorks. But what you can see here is the various settings we can use. So currently there's I think here you've got 5 different classification models that we support. I think we've added a UAV one as well that we're testing as well. But we're classifying the point clouds, not the imagery. That's really important. And of course, all of this data can be streamed down into CloudWorks or 3DR. Now, in the initial release, you won't see the classification data like you're seeing here directly within Reality Cloud Studio, but that we just need to wait for the UI to catch up, but that will come very, very soon. But it is incredibly powerful for being able to see exactly what you want and be able to speed up the modeling process within those connected parts of the ecosystem. And what I said at the beginning again is this is about creating data that lots of people can access. This is not just about your modelers. This is not just about going from scan to BIM or scan to verify, all the different things we've looked at, but how can we reuse that data across all of these different applications, whether it's asset maintenance or facilities operation planning. There's lots and lots of ways we can use this data and share this data very easily to all of those different stakeholders. So again, another quote from one of our customers: "It's faster and more intuitive, and ultimately led to a 10% increase in earnings per project by enabling us to charge clients for direct access to their data in the cloud," which is what a lot of people are doing with HxDR Reality Cloud Studio, effectively just charging out the use of the product on the back end. So now let's quickly look at security and compliance. We're nearly at the end of the presentation. So security and compliance. There's 0 implementation costs with Reality Cloud Studio. It's cloud-based. Okay, so it's very simple to use. It's a SaaS solution with, we'll look at the data centers in a second. There's no hardware to buy or consultants to pay. It's all just included. There's no upgrades to manage. We have a release typically every week or every other week that just gets automatically managed in the background, and you get access to all the new features as part of your subscription. And then of course training and adoption services are also free of charge. There's limited training because it is very, very easy to use. And there's a whole online platform for self-onboarding essentially that you can use, but we also have a customer success team who can guide you through that process as well. So in terms of data security, we have data location options in the EU, in USA, in Canada, UAE. We've got automated backup and disaster recovery. And of course, this is really important, you own all of your data. Some platforms take ownership of your data once you upload it. This is still your data, it's still accessible, you can pull it all back down, you can export it all, you own the data that we put into Reality Cloud Studio. And of course, we have single sign-on support using your multi-factor authentication backend if you have that in place. We have ISO 27001 certification, and we also have SOC 2 Type 2 and Type 1 in place, plus all the penetration tests and various other certifications that you might be looking for. So it's an incredibly secure platform, as you would expect from a best-in-class SaaS tool being rolled out to the market. So now let's very quickly touch on the pricing model. Really, I want to hammer this home, and if there's any questions you can ask in the chat, but it really is about the simplicity of a consumption-based model. And what do I mean there? You subscribe to Reality Cloud Studio on a yearly basis for the number of terabytes that you think you might use, and it's a quota, and you use that quota against your uploading of data, your processing, which in this case would include registration or meshing or classification or format conversion, and also for download. Now, not many people use download, and the reason is because, one, it's used against your quota, but when you look at what's available and free and unlimited within your consumption model, we have unlimited streaming. So whether that's via the browser, via CloudWorks, via 3DR, it's all included. Then we have unlimited users, so you can have as many users, and you can add external users to projects as well, and you can have unlimited projects. So you're not limited by saying, right, you've got 10 projects, you can have as many projects and nested projects across the platform. And then the big one is what we call free ongoing storage. So that means in year 2 or 3, 4, 5, as you look forward, you're not charged again for the data that's already in the platform. You've already used that against your quota in year 1, for example. So you can, as long as you pay your subscription, you continue to access all of the data that you've uploaded in the past. Okay, now coming soon, we've obviously got this webinar coming very soon. So the first one we'll be talking about scan versus BIM. So we'll be talking about deviation in the cloud using our deviation reporting. And we'll also be talking about AI classification. So be sure to register that, because we're going to go into a lot more detail around the functionality that we've got on that forthcoming webinar session. So I just wanted to, before we kind of wrapped up, just give you a little hint of what was coming soon. There's other stuff around geotags and the panoramic experience that we'll discuss as well, but these are the two big ticket items that we'll be covering as part of that session. So from a summary perspective and closing out before we finish, what we covered today, obviously that connected ecosystem and how you can collaborate using Reality Cloud Studio. We looked at the scan versus BIM and the scan to BIM process with the data that's hosted in HxDR Reality Cloud Studio, and how we can then use that data for different use cases. Obviously covered data security, and then briefly we've just covered that usage model. But again, if you've got any questions, just come to us and we will sort that out. So again, questions, you can scan this QR code right here and you can talk to an expert directly, or you can message me, paul.burrows@hexagon.com, or if you've got marketing inquiries or media or partnership requests, you can talk to Nelly, who looks after marketing for HxDR Reality Cloud Studio. But on that note, I just want to say thank you very much for your time and your energy today listening. I look forward to reviewing the questions from the session, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. But remember to register for that next webinar session so you can get much more detail on the new functionality that's coming in that release. But yeah, once again, thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and we'll catch up very, very soon.